Welcome back, everybody, to the Mr. Video Game Live Super Show, Super Rock the House, brought to you by Dead Sun Entertainment. Everybody clap your hands, say yeah. I've been a little sick, so I apologize if my my normal exuberant voice was a little less exuberant today, but we have a great show for you here today, and probably our last regular show of the year. That's right, Thursday we'll be covering live the Video Game Awards. We'll be taking the next 2 Mondays off, and then the last episode will be our year and decade in review show, and that's going to be fucking awesome. Of course, hi, I'm Slacker Kite. Pleasure to see you all one more time this year for Mr. Video Games. But first, coming to us live from the dirty South, he was released under Valve time, so we expect to see him sometime in 2025. It's Brian, a.k.a. Wonderboy.
I'm full-on rendering in process down here, especially after as much PBR and Kentucky Gentleman I have put in my body. How is everyone doing?
Apparently not as fantastic as you are right now with all the Kentucky Gentlemen.
Oh my gee, no, that is not a fantastic thing. That is a terrible thing. No one should ever drink that ever again. I am angry at the person who bought that for me, but also happy because they bought that for me. Anywho, no, I'm doing pretty well. I've been down here in Atlanta for a few days now, and it's been pretty rad. My first trip back since moving away, and this has been nice to reconnect with a bunch of friends, have some beers, catch up, see the city again that I still call home, even though Portland is also home. I have 2 homes, and they both share my heart. Also, before we went on stream, I found out something super gay and super awesome wrestling-wise that is making my heart flutter and make me very excited. So I have even more pep in me because of that. And it's not just because I have my quick trip coffee for the first time in a long time. Ah, so good. I'm wired. How are y'all?
I see that, and Lady Goggles, thanks for the subscription. Apparently we just gained a new emote slot, so that's really cool.
There we go. Moving on up in the world.
It's the haha holidays.
Ho ho ho.
That looks like a very demonic Frosty the Snowman there. Alright, I'm into it. Nose.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll, of course, be visiting as well to the Hotlanta next week, so that's right. Part of why we won't be doing anything, because I'll be in Athens on Monday. The city in Georgia, not the city for which it was named, sadly.
That's alright. In some ways, Athens, Georgia is better.
I mean, the bars are definitely better in Athens, Georgia, I'll tell you that much.
We're gonna go to church.
And as well, from just a tad further north, whatever you do, just don't call her little sister. It's Lindsay K. Letty Merowin.
Hey, guys. Oddly enough, further north, not frozen. It was warm today.
I was out today, and it was, rainy and slushy, and I think I would prefer the snow, because nobody here seems to know how to drive in the rain and slush, so I came home early.
No one knows how to drive in the snow either, hon.
I mean, they do it a little bit better, at least. They kind of get it going.
I don't know. It felt like a warm or an early spring day today instead of, oh crap, soon it's going to be minus 45.
You're not wrong. It kind of was spring-like for the north, and you know what? I'll take it. It was nice. It was nice. I would prefer not the rainy, slushy grossness, but, so you do.
Indeed. And Celsius wise, we're actually staying in the positives until the 23rd, with the exception of Wednesday, Thursday this week.
Oh, how has everyone's week been? Obviously, Brian with his Kentucky gentleman here has been pretty good. I should ask
Been
about you
fucking
as well.
lit.
I'm alive. I haven't self like spontaneously combusted yet,
Fair.
That's a cause for celebration.
right?
I think so. Just making it through the day sometimes is worthy of not a shot of Kentucky Gentleman, but well, a shot of a better whiskey.
I hear you had a slightly better, slightly good stream that took place over the week.
I did. And the game I played, I mean, you watched that game with me. That was a mind fuck and a half. So we played Superliminal, which is actually the finished product of a demo that came out called the Museum of Simulation Technology. And the game is based entirely on force perspective. So you see something blocking your way, grab it, and then bring it close, like turn, and suddenly it's tiny. Or, like, as you can see here in the clip, soda becomes gigantic. And it's kind of like Portal mixed with Stanley Parable,
Mm-hmm.
in that you very much have to think out of the box. And I mean, the story for it is fucking fantastic. I'm pretty sure I had an epiphany by the end of it. It was amazing. And it's done by a developer called Pillow Castle.
Mm-hmm.
And this is definitely on my 10 out of 10. Highly recommend. If you can get your hands on this game, dear God, play it. It took, what, about 4 hours to run through? And that was including much cursing and spazzing and trying desperately to figure shit out. um, but as you can see, like, it's all force perspective, and it is, you really have to start looking at things differently in a weird way.
It's kind of that like playhouse vibe, right? Like you got all
Huh.
these rooms with like specific toys. It's a from what I saw, to me it seemed a little less portally because Portal makes you, gives you multiple things to play with and red herrings. The game never really gives you a red herring or anything like hugely environmental to play with, but
Well, I mean, that blackout level, that was so much cursing because it scared the hell out of me. And then stuff happened, and I'm not going to spoil it because I want y'all to play it.
Mhm.
Uh, but like, even this section was just like, oh great, room upon room upon room upon room, and then you purposely start overthinking it because you're so used to having to overthink these kinds of games
Mhm.
that you completely bypass the most simple solution, which is to just walk forward. um, so it had some good laughs, it had some great face palms, it had a good chunk of me squeaking and panicking until I figured out things. Um, but it's really fun just for something different to play. It's available through the Epic Game Store. I think it's about 25 or $30, worth every freaking penny. Um,
And by the way, if you're not following Lady Merowin already, definitely do so. For you get more games like this.
I like finding random shit.
Mhm.
This one I found because I'm a big fan of Jacksepticeye on YouTube,
Mhm.
and he had played through the demo. And then as soon as this was released, this was actually released like mid last month. As soon as this was released, he put out a video on it, and I lost my shit because I thought the demo was really cool. And then it just it snowballed. I didn't think I'd get through it in one sitting, but I had to. You need to find out what happens next the whole time.
Yeah, it's definitely like a sort of, well, what's going to happen next kind of game, and each floor has its own themes, and it's just neat. It's neat. I can definitely give it on the strongly recommend too. though I thought a little bit less of it than Morrowind did. Like, it's a good game still. Definitely give it a try. It's worth like what, $20 US, something like that.
I don't know. I only see the Canadian pricing, but I think it's like $29.99 on Epic for Canadian folk. And from what I'm seeing from this playthrough, there are multiple ways to solve certain levels because that's not how I got through this part. So I might actually have to go back and replay.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I just
highly
checked
worth.
$19.99 on the Epic Game Store.
Yeah, so if you get a chance and you want to spend like 4+ hours fiddling through one of the more unique puzzle games you're ever going to play, do it.
Hell yeah.
Definitely. The ending alone, I think, is worth the price of the game. Because there's a whole monologue that I highly recommend everybody listen to at some point, even if you do it just by watching a Let's Play. It's very helpful.
All right, and that being said, we're going to do something a little different on the show because the only game that I really played was a game called AI Dungeon.
Yes.
And I kind of want to show this to you guys. So we're going to have ourselves a little bit of a Let's Play. Sadly, my camera is directly over where the new text field is, but I'll read for you guys what's going on.
Yay! Story time with Uncle Slackerkite.
It's a dungeon entirely developed by AI that can take parse what you say, give it like a verb, noun sort of thing, and whatever you say, it's going to do something in return to it. It may not totally understand what you're saying, but it's going to try.
So it's like Zork written by Deep Thought.
Mm-hmm. So I started it off already. We are a wizard in a fantasy session. You are Mr. Video Games, a wizard living in the kingdom of Larion. You have a staff and a spellbook. You finish your long journey and finally arrive at the ruin you've been looking for. You look around and see that it's indeed a ruined city. The streets are empty and there is no sign of life anywhere. What shall we do?
Hey chat, what should we do? Because I like seeing your guys' crazy ideas. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten as far in Superliminal as I had if I didn't have Slackerkite sitting here going, hey, have you tried this?
Can we lick the dirt?
Lick the dirt, he says.
Interpret my dumbness.
Now, I will say that the game apparently has been picked up by a whole lot of people, so fingers crossed we didn't load into it at a time where it's overloaded and we aren't going to get a response. Fingers crossed.
I want to know what happens when I lick that dirt. Get that dirt on my tongue.
Aww.
And if lick the dirt doesn't work, we also have the suggestion of get ye flask.
It's a horrible shame. It is not loading right now. We picked the wrong time. I'll leave it spinning anyway. We'll come back and check on it later in the show. Hopefully we can lick the dirt and then get E-Flask later.
And then find a billionaire and eat them.
I will say that I had myself a lovely little game where I wandered through a weird castle.
Mm-hmm.
One of the paintings was actually alive and had a naked woman in it, who told me I had to marry her. So I said yes, and I spent the rest of the game looking for a priest who would marry us. The end.
Oddly sort of heartwarming?
It was kind of cute in a strange way. Like, she would just keep wandering off, be like, so we're going to get married. Yeah.
At least it's not like DM douchebaggery where it's like, oh look, you see a living painting. You want to go find a priest? No, rocks fall, everybody dies.
Fair. But it is, you can find this at aidungeon.io. You can download the source code. I just didn't have the time to set up everything. It's all a nice and Python-y bullshit. So, hey, there you go. Anyway, let's start off with our first story of the day.
Oh god, this is a biggie.
It is a pretty big story. 2K Entertainment has opened a new company by the name of Cloud Chamber, and they are going to start up a whole new BioShock game. Thank you, James Batchelor, as always, from GameIndustry.biz, for providing us with this new information that we're starting off with. The game series has been dead for several years now, since BioShock Infinite in 2013, which is the only game from the series I personally really dug, but I did like BioShock Infinite a whole bunch.
I never got a chance to finish BioShock Infinite because I grabbed the Game of the Year edition when Target was closing up here. I paid like $5 for it, got it for the PS3, and then my ex left and took the PS3. Left the game, but took the PS3.
It is also worth note that Kelly Gilmore has been put in charge of the newly formed Cloud Chamber, which is interesting. Not a lot of teams have a lady in charge in the video games market, so the fact that they're putting diversity at the front of a game for BioShock is definitely interesting, considering how much socially stuff that goes into a BioShock game.
Very, very true. I mean, Kelly Gilmore is the first woman to lead a 2K owned studio, so good for them. They got it in right at the end, but before the decade ended. That 2K was finally able to get on board with everyone else, or at least most of everyone else, in terms of understanding that diverse leadership is needed in the games industry. Um, that being said, um, I'm gonna be frank.
Mhm.
As soon as I saw this, before I did any research into who was leading the studio, who was going to be on board with the studio, my first thought was, why? Well, no, maybe not why, because obviously the why is money, because
Right.
anyone and everyone is going to buy a BioShock game. Put that name on a title, and you're going to sell. But I guess a deeper question of why, as to why do we need to revisit that world? Like why should there be another story told within it? Especially whenever you aren't going to have Ken Levine involved with it. And let's be frank, BioShock as a franchise has always hit its highest points whenever Ken Levine was directly involved in the writing and the thematic crafting of the game. We all saw what happened with BioShock 2. For all of the good that it had in it, there was a lot of derision around it. Um, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where I just don't know if I really want another BioShock game. I'm curious to hear like what y'all's initial reactions was in that way.
I mean, I don't really have a whole lot of the name recognition with Ken Levine that you do.
Mm-hmm.
I just found it interesting. This is probably a good time for a new Bioshock game, as far as I'm concerned, with changing social situations. There's a lot of new things that they definitely could make the game around at this point, since the previous Bioshocks, from what I saw, what I played, was definitely modern social commentary in a lot of places, despite the fact that there was a whole lot of old-timey bullshit in there mixed in as well. It kind of had a whole lot to say, especially, about westward expansion in America and all that bullshit.
I mean, it definitely had those opinions, and they manifested in different ways in the games, whether it be some of the ways that race relations were looked at in Infinite, or the idea of like zealotry, and in there. But I think the more pressing commentary that the BioShock games really had was their commentary on the games industry itself, the relationship between player and creator, the art of development in a lot of ways. I think like those questions were always the more interesting ones that were brought up. I mean, let's face it, the main reason why BioShock 1 is remembered is because of the twist. And that twist is full force, like shining the mirror on the player and like look at us. This is how we develop this thing. You are so gullible to follow every one of our directions and not try and figure a way out around all these things that we have asked you to do. We have kindly asked you to do. So it's just like it's just this idea of the relationship between the player and the creator that I think is more prescient in those games. And that's why I think BioShock 2 fell as short as it did, because you didn't really have those sort of commentaries within it. um I mean, they were there, but they were like lukewarm compared to the others, I think. And part of that is because Ken Levine was not the one directing the ship on that game, um, which is why I have such a like caution about returning to BioShock without Ken Levine there. I'm not saying that a BioShock game can't be made without him. I can't say that that an interesting one can't be made without him, but it's going to take a lot, I think, to win over um, people who hold those past games very close to their hearts. Whenever you don't have him involved directly, and I think it's just going to take more work. And I think that they have the right person in place. I mean, Gilmore has like years of experience working with Firaxis, which could be an interesting, that experience could be interesting to bring into the BioShock universe, like working for as long as she did on Civilization. Like I'm not saying you pull a straight up like city building sim or anything like that into BioShock, but clearly there's a basis there for building on real life themes that could be translated into the game itself. And we also don't know the rest of the team, so
True. We only
Yeah.
have the one name so far, and maybe they'll be expanding on that in the future. They did mention that this game is going to be a long time out from now, so we're not expecting to hear, oh, hey, expect this on the Xbox Scarlet in 2020. It's coming, though. That is.
Sans wants BioShock now.
She does. She has so much to say about Ken Levine and BioShock. All right.
It's one lighthouse, one cat,
There you go.
and one whatever. Like I love that game, but for the life of me, I can never remember the three things. At the end of it.
Too many years. The brain
God.
has processed so much more information since then.
I know. I'm going to Google.
Lindsay, any
remember.
thoughts?
I think it's going to be interesting to see where they take it.
Mhm.
But I kind of echo the sentiment of where can you go
Space.
after Infinite? Like, I mean, maybe, but even Playwatch, he thought it was a really cool idea, except where do you go from here? So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with it. It's cool to me that they are doing 2 locations for their studio. They're doing one in the Bay Area in California, and then one up here in Canada. They're going to be based out of Montreal, Quebec. So first ever Canadian office for a 2K studio,
Mhm.
which is super cool. Ubi Montreal definitely needs some competitions, so that'll be nice. But yeah, like I never got huge into the BioShock universe. Like I played the hell out of the original System Shock. But beyond that, and I know I'm really dating myself on that one because I remember when it came on a 3-inch floppy.
I say we're going to finally see that linchpin between BioShock and Dead Space that nobody knew they wanted. It's coming.
That could be cool.
Either way, go ahead, Brian.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I found it. I was missing the city. It's a lighthouse. There's always a lighthouse, a band, and a city.
Correct.
That's what it is.
But of
Yeah.
course, you can't have a major thing like this without a major expose from Kotaku and Jason Schreier, because of course. And he goes into a lot of depth on this, but as you might imagine, a big revival like this isn't something that a company like 2K is just going to jump into, and this has been in the works for a while. This has been under the codename Parkside for several years, and several teams have poked around into it a bit. It'll still be a while, so don't think that, they've laid down a huge foundation, but they've been poking to this, according to him, since 2016 at this point.
And I mean, like, if I'm reading this right, one of the companies that was originally poking at it was Certain Affinity, which is behind Halo,
Mm.
because it was headed by one of the ex Bungie devs. So, I maybe they pulled a Nintendo and went, "No, you're not doing it right. We're gonna do this in house." Um, but yeah, that makes this a little bit more interesting.
This report is actually intriguing because it kind of gives us a little bit of insight into some of the other people that are going to be working on this game. Like I know the game industry.biz report that we looked at did list some other people working for Cloud Chamber, most notably the art director for BioShock, for both BioShock and on BioShock Infinite, Scott Sinclair, and the design director and creative director of BioShock Infinite, Jonathan Pelling. So there are some BioShock veterans that are going to be working on this alongside a bunch of new people. But just the idea that that 2K pulled some people off of out of Hangar 13, the studio that made Mafia 3, like that is really interesting to me because Mafia 3 I think was a game that it didn't necessarily get the amount of fanfare that I thought it deserved upon release, but it did some really interesting things with story and with playing around with social constructs and race relations in the 70s. So like I think there's a good amount of people that are on this team that understand what they can do with the BioShock universe and
Mm.
the whole multiverse theory that it established in Infinite. I think I don't know. It gives me more resolve, I think, than I had upon first reading the news.
Yeah, and especially knowing that 2K has really taken an in-depth look at bringing this game back to life, and isn't just bringing it back on a whim, has been really mulling this around, even going so far as to have another company lay some of the groundwork, and obviously it was taken back from them, according to the article, but hey, the groundwork has been laid. This isn't something they're just going into because hey, we could make some money off of BioShock. I think they're really into this to make something big. That's my feel on it anyway. Is that they know that this is a title people want resurrected, and they have to do it right out of the gate. We have to get a God of War out of it, or you're just going to be on a downslide after the fact. Or at least a doom on the bringing back the franchise.
Yeah.
But I'm really optimistic, I'm going to wait for way more information, of course, but I can't wait to see what a new BioShock might look like, especially, in 2021 or 2022, whenever it does finally launch. I think there's a lot that a diverse team could really come up with for a game like this.
No, I'm right there with you. Like I have caution, but it doesn't mean that I'm not like underneath just all kinds of giddy to jump back into the BioShock world. Like that, I love those games, and I am totally down to play another one. There's always going to be a fear, though. There's always going to be a fear.
My only real concern is if 2K plays it too safe. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we come into BioShock and it is just something that kind of feels like an extension of the other games and doesn't explore new dynamics, that would be sad.
That would be sad because the only reason why you open up BioShock again is for someone to experiment with that within that world.
Mm.
You know, like you need to have something to say if you're going to use BioShock again. So I really hope that they have something to say with what they want to do.
Yeah, we can't have any of this apolitical gaming bullshit in there. We've got to actually jump in.
No.
I'm also really interested to see, especially with how like the tech has evolved, what this game is going to look like. Because as I remember, Infinite was stunningly beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
like, like design wise. So I'm interested to see what they're going to be able to do with the advancements in graphics rendering to see like where they're going to take it that way.
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, they basically skipped this entire cycle, you know? So, like, they're jumping straight from PS3 and 360 graphic engines to the Scarlet and PS5. So, like, I can only imagine what they might be able to pull off art-wise on those consoles.
I think so long as they don't pull a Valve and go, nope, nope, that long-awaited sequel, no, 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 it's going to be VR only. We might be okay.
Yeah. No, do
It's
not
not a
do an
sequel.
Alex.
It's not a sequel. It's like 1.5 or 2.5. It's something 0.5, and also you gotta use your hands. Use your hands.
Yee, get it all up in there. Feel around, Alex.
Get 'em goopy. Get 'em goopy with gravity. All right.
Oh, let's just move on then because I feel gross.
Your fingers are the physics now. Feel the physics.
Coming to us from Polygon. Oh, wait, I totally have gone into the wrong article. We're going to come back to that in a minute. I am just... sorry, the illness has gotten to my whole body. Minecraft. You may have watched the YouTube Rewind over the last week that came out, and of course they had their countdown of the most popular games on YouTube. And of course, Minecraft came in #1, which it might not have if not for, of course, the PewDiePie boost, who came back to playing Minecraft in the middle of this year, revitalizing the franchise from where it was earlier in that year. I'm still surprised with the reboot Fortnite isn't ahead, but there you go.
Well, Fortnite is much bigger on Twitch. Let's be real. Like, Fortnite is a Twitch vehicle. Minecraft has always been a YouTube thing. And it does not surprise me at all that Minecraft was the top game streamed on YouTube. What does pain me is that PewDiePie is getting credit for it. I know PewDiePie came back to the game, and I know that his streams brought in a lot of viewers, but also PewDiePie is a piece of garbage.
I mean, you're not wrong.
He's an unadulterated piece of shit, so do not give him credit for anything. Give Minecraft credit, because Minecraft is an awesome game that people, even pieces of shit, want to come back and play. And that is fine, because Minecraft is a good game. Good on you, Minecraft. Here's a treat. Fuck off, PewDiePie.
I thought YouTube Rewind did have the top gaming channels on YouTube this year. Am I wrong?
I am not sure, because I have not watched the YouTube Rewind.
I think
I
Drapes
can
might
do
be
a
right.
quick. Let me do a quick search here.
Okay.
The rewind is something I tend to forget about, and then I end up binging like 4 years of it at once and going, I don't remember any of the. Oh my god, this happened 4 years ago? Yeah, so.
The YouTube Rewind this year was basically a Watch Mojo list of, hey, here were the top 5 dance videos of the year. Here were the top 5 music videos. Here were the top 5 cooking channels.
In which case, I will probably skip watching it because, I mean, I liked. Like, last year's was fun. And like they've always been fun and amusing. Like it's the song of the year, and then all of the fun little bits of social media that we have consumed over the year. And so if it's just like a this is the top 5 of this, it's like meh.
Yeah, well, last year's was the most disliked YouTube video of all time. So this one being slightly less disliked, I can only count as a win for Google.
Wow. So I mean like they didn't like the fact that they had ninja in it.
People hated the fact that there were so many, like, big name celebrities and weren't focusing on the, mid tier people who actually keep the channel and stuff running. Yeah, Graves mentions they were relatively passive aggressive. They started off the video with last year's video was the most hated video of all time. So this year we're letting you tell us what we should put up. And then it was the top 5 list of, this is what you told us you like this year.
Yeah, so no list of top gaming creators. They did have most liked creator videos, which of course PewDiePie is near the top there. They also had, let's see here. Let's see, don't break out most viewed creators, of which PewDiePie is number 1, of course. And then I think that is it, really. I mean, there's also like if you want to break out the people who are bullshit roster beyond just PewDiePie, a video by Shane Dawson, who not a piece of shit necessarily, but a video by Shane Dawson all about the beautiful world of Jeffree Star, who is in fact a piece of shit, was number 2 on most liked beauty videos. So shit all around.
Oh well, enough about YouTube. Let's go back to the thing that I accidentally copied and pasted in because I'm a moron.
Oh. There was one more thing before we left that YouTube, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
The number 1 most liked creator video for the year. I love this. It's a video by Mr. Beast, who is one of the top video creators on the platform. But the name of the video is perfect. It's called "Make This Video the Most Liked Video on YouTube."
Good job.
It was the most liked for the year with 10.9 million likes.
Well, he got what he wanted.
There you go. So, on brand.
Well, anyway, you've probably figured this out by now. The next story, there was a bug in Modern Warfare, and people were able to preview a huge map that can contain up to 200 players by the title of BR. So clearly, Battle Royale is coming to Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Which, of course, is probably one of the worst kept secrets of the year, I would say.
Yeah, we all
Sorry,
known?
Go ahead.
Haven't we all known already that this was kind of coming eventually? They mentioned it before or something?
I mean, they hadn't mentioned it before. It had always been rumored just because, Blackout was in Black Ops 4, which, you're not going to put a mode into one game and then have it. I think it was some sort of a success. I'm trying to find out real quick to see what the player count numbers were for the Blackout mode. But yeah, I mean, to my knowledge, Blackout was relatively well received from the COD audience, so it makes total sense that they would put out another battle royale mode, especially since the genre is not going away anytime soon. The size and scope of it, though, is what intrigues me, because this map is huge, and if you can fit 200 players on there, like, that will be one of the largest battle royale maps out there right now. It might be the largest, honestly. Which, honestly, being bigger is not necessarily mean better, but obviously. Chef's kiss. But also, like, I don't know, like, it makes me wonder what they plan on doing with a space like that, because, I think it gives them an opportunity to kind of do something different with it. Like, I don't know, like, if you have that much area to cover, like, will they add some different vehicle stuff, like vehicle combat, like, will they battlefield this up, Like it's interesting to see where they could go with it, especially with that high of a player count. Also,
It'll be interesting for sure. With 200 players, one of the big draws from what I can tell about especially like Fortnite, right, is that with 100 players, your top players tend to be the ones that rush out, and then like people who are in the lower tier, the top like 80-ish players below that. All feel better because they see how long they last. They go and they sneak around and try to make their way into the last and feel like the top of the bottom tier, that they're slowly progressing up the ladder as they go. And that seems to make the most interesting dynamic between different players of different skills. So at 200, are you making that gap too wide and putting off players with a larger, longer match?
mm. I mean, you're not wrong, especially considering how fast-paced the Call of Duty multiplayer usually is.
Mm.
Like having that much area, if you're not pulling in the player counts that you want, could prove to be a detriment, obviously. But also, like, Call of Duty has such a built-in fan base. Like the people that already bought the game have it there. They have it for them to explore. So they already are going to have like multi-millions of players that are going to be able to try this out. And obviously, they want to retain players with the mode, or else why would they make it? But if it's not as like exciting or something that doesn't draw them in like that, then yeah, this thing could go south very quickly, especially considering like I've been looking for player counts for Blackout. I'm not finding definite numbers, but there are a number of Reddit users for on the Call of Duty subreddit that have expressed their malaise about the low player counts on PC in Blackout.
Mm.
Like all the way back to January 1st of this year, which is only a few months after the game came out. So it's one of those. It seems that Blackout maybe wasn't necessarily received as well by the fan base as some might think. And if things stay like that, like if you're having people, granted this is just on PC, I haven't seen anything console related yet, but if you're getting that drop off that quickly on one of your platforms, like it can't, like you have to have something similar going on other platforms as well, and it does not really show good signs of longevity if you're already seeing those kind of dips in player counts like 3 months into the lifeline of a game, that even if the game's only supposed to last a year before the next one comes out, like 3 months is a very short time for something to have for something to have a lifespan.
Yeah, and I would be concerned if you're at 200 players, right? What really happens at that point if your game isn't picked up that well, right? You're going to just have very few people standing around a ginormous map, right?
Yeah, basically.
Gross.
I think this is just a case of bandwagon jumping.
Mm.
Because from what I recall, like, yeah, Call of Duty still has its core fan base, but they're not drawing many new people in. And so by jumping on the Battle Royale bandwagon, I think they're looking to try to boost their player count. Because, I mean, games like PUBG, games like Fortnite, they're still wildly popular.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this is them trying to bring back a huge player base that they used to command.
They did get a little bit of ground back with Modern Warfare, but you're right. I don't think it drew in the numbers that they were really looking for. So maybe this was their attempt to like, hey, bigger numbers means more interesting, right, guys? Let's do it.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where Black Ops 4, the sales did not meet their expectations necessarily, and that was expressed during that sales call where they, laid off 800 people last year, despite record profits or record gross or whatever it was they said. So, like, I don't know, like, this is their second time around with Battle Royale. They saw what worked and what didn't work with Blackout. I'm hoping that they're able to correct, but You know, we also got to remember the Call of Duty development cycle falls on different studios for different years, and so this isn't necessarily the same people that are working on that were to Blackout are working on this necessarily. There's a chance there's some bleed over just because they want to make sure they get something right here, and I think they did pull some people from other places to work on Blackout for last year. But that being said, like there's this is their second shot, and it might be their last shot to get this right because no established first-person shooter has been able to pull off battle royale well within its own world. You know, we saw Battlefield tried it; it was a wet fart. Call of Duty tried it with Blackout, and it was okay at first, but people clearly did not latch onto it. Um, Apex Legends, you know, made by the Respawn guys, like that game is awesome, but it does not play off of the Titanfall world at all. And I think it is, or it does actually, but it's not like they've made it different enough that it doesn't feel like a Titanfall thing necessarily. There's a reason why I just made that mistake because Apex feels like it does feel separate from Titanfall. So you really need to work on establishing what this battle royale is going to be outside of the regular Call of Duty experience, and you have to make sure that fans want that, and the fans will latch onto it and play it. And I just don't know if that's something that's really going to happen. So maybe they'll blow it out of the water. Maybe this will be the last gasp. But I think this can only go to one of the extremes in terms of moving forward with the Call of Duty development cycle.
Brian, I do feel like you're significantly undervaluing what Fallout 76 is going to bring to the table with Battle Royale, so...
I played that fucking shit. All right? I gave that game 2 hours of my life that I will never get back. And it's the only 2 hours that game will ever get. Fuck that shit. Yeah, okay, it's not that bad until you make it a battle royale where the entire consent of the game is to shoot other people in a Fallout game where Fallout sucks as a first-person shooter. You cannot. Yeah, exactly. Fallout sucks when like offense is your number one thing. It is terrible. Terrible idea to make a battle royale in Fallout 76.
Speaking of terrible ideas, PlayStation recently had a commercial go up full of some delightful animated scenes surrounding their upcoming lineup. Music video, a winter mix of music videos, as it were. Until people started having a little bit of a talk. Like good old Ian Jones Quarterly. You may know him from OK Go, his work with his wife on Steven Universe. And having drawn RPG World back in the day. I've been following him ever since, and I love this man. His artwork is so good. But he noted a few lines. Whoa, loud. Were basically pulled line for line from his own art. Not even an homage, but he stated literally traced in some places. And even more damning, Oleg Kositsyn, I don't really know who that is, but look at this direct comparison of the folds here directly from his video to this video. It is almost an exact tracing.
Yeah, no, this is fucked.
Oh boy.
This is fucked.
Yeah, now, I can't blame Sony for this. You know, I'm sure they contracted somebody else out. And that person was like, oh, there's no way no one will ever find out. But here we are in a world where this video was basically had several huge parts of it directly ripped off from several people, and Sony has since taken it down. And oh, there is a contractor that has been fired so hard for this.
Here's the thing, all right? It doesn't matter who contracted somebody out to make this. It still had to go through approval from Sony themselves.
Mm.
And I'm sorry, but a lot of this like that I'm seeing is like super noticeable to the point where I do not understand how anyone. I get why they might not get the Steven Universe comparison, because Steven Universe, I don't know how popular it is in Japan,
Mm.
but there is definitely some work in here that is very visible to Japanese audiences. And I think that you could very easily, even if you weren't familiar with that work, you could very easily look at those comparison videos and see that, yeah, they fucked up. Somebody had to have noticed something here, and they thought that maybe they could fly under the radar with it. Good on Ian Jones-Quartey for noticing that, like for and pointing this stuff out, because this is bullshit. I'm glad that they pulled it, but this should never have hit the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, considering panels were taken from FLCL, an artist would definitely have noticed it at some point.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't tell me that someone in that office has not seen a cell of FLCL. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Lance.
I mean, the legal team at Sony is going to have a field day trying to backpedal and cover this up. Like, so hard. Because these artists, I guarantee you, are going to come back and go, yo, pay up.
Yeah, they definitely are going to have to drop some money into a couple of hands here. Yeah.
God, this last video on this article is just so damning.
Yeah, it's a really good video. Which is a
God.
shame. Like, if this was not completely butchered stuff, I do really like the color direction the person went with in this, but also don't fucking steal your shit anymore. In 2019, people notice this shit and will come after your ass.
Yep. Yes, they will.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Kelveran. I'm going to guess that the people approving it weren't the marketing people and were more the media people involved and may not know much about this. And it's kind of like, oh, that looks really cool. This looks like something, yeah, this looks marketable to our audience. Let's go for it.
I get that, but also, it's their fucking job.
Mm.
It's their fucking job. It's what they get paid monies for to do. And I'm sorry, but if you're getting paid monies to do that, you need to be on top of this stuff, and you need to make sure that you are performing best practices with this stuff. Like, that's just what you have to do. I'm not gonna sit here and let Sony pass the blame onto whoever made the video or made the animation, because they were like, well, we're just stuffy old dudes in an office and we don't know about anime. I don't give a fuck. It's your job to know that shit. It's your job to understand whenever like plagiarism comes up in these sort of things. Like, that's just bull. I cannot get on board with that. Like,
I mean,
you know,
hell, take it home, show it to your kid. They'll point out everything that's wrong with it.
that is a perfect thing to do, Linz. That is the best suggestion.
I've always said that every company needs to have a team of 14-year-olds on staff that they just, like, hey, watch this video and, like, watch them and see if they either giggle or like, oh, hey, that was Steven Universe. Cool.
Yeah, because watching that video, that is so Steven Universe. Like, as soon as I hadn't seen the thing at first, but I'm sure if I'd seen that before seeing the comparison video, or that, yeah, no, that is Spinell. That is all the way Spinell. Like, what are y'all doing?
Whoo boy. Anyway, moving on. Another card battler is dead. Oh, surprise! This time, the Elder Scrolls Legends has been cancelled, or at least mothballed, according to community manager Christian Van Hoos. Any development or release has been put on hold for the meantime, with the April roadmap completely cancelled for the card battler. I can't say card games are dead, but maybe they're not the cash cow that every developer seems to think they are right now.
I mean, I've played Elder Scrolls Legends. It wasn't that good. Like,
That's a
Slap that on the
fair
box.
assessment.
they tried so hard to be Hearthstone.
Oh, bless them.
Every game in this world has
And-
been trying to be Hearthstone.
And in typical Bethesda fashion, they overcomplicated it.
Yeah.
Because, you have one playfield. No! No, fuck no. You have two.
Oh, gross.
And if your opponent plays something on the opposite side, the stuff that you've already brought out can't do shit.
That's the beauty of Hearthstone. It's so pick up and play. You can just fucking drop in whenever you want to, and you don't have to know a whole bunch of bullshit to do it.
Exactly. Whereas, it all comes back to it's all being ripped off of Magic the Gathering.
Very
But
true.
still, Elder Scrolls Legends, I had it. I played it for about an hour because when I started playing it, I went, this is shit. And so I kept playing to see if it would get better.
Oh, that's your
And
first
it-
mistake.
Didn't. And they're giving you free card packs. Yeah, no, it does nothing. Like, I don't even think I got fully out of the tutorial. It was that bad.
Mm.
So, Mr. Video Game's seal of approval for Elder Scroll Legends. May
Mr.
it not rest in peace.
The Mr. Video Games of approval. Just blowing raspberries all day.
All day, every day.
God.
And our last part of our first bits of story for Mr. Video Games. Whew, there is a huge expose over on Kotaku. The first one was an interesting expose on the development cycle of tongue doesn't want to BioShock. Yes, tongue. Thank you. Anyway, Cecilia D'Anastasio has put out a whole giant expose on the CEO of Razer, Min Liang Tan. And just a whole lot of just dick moves the CEO has pulled against these employees who are definitely unhappy working in this team.
This is so sad to see.
Yeah, none of it is like brutally offensive end of the world stuff like some of the previous Kotaku exposés, but it's just such, it keeps going, and there is so much just working for a boss that will never let you say a negative thing about your company ever.
Yes, but also just like more so how Tan treats his employees.
Mm.
Like, throwing objects at them, yelling at them, berating them, cursing them out constantly, making them stay overnight to finish projects. Like, this is all ridiculous. Like, yes, it is not necessarily as egregious in terms of cultural or social prejudices and that sort of thing that we've seen from other places in the games industry, but that does not take anything away from the accusations that are being made here. And to see this happen again, and like, you have to know this happens at other companies as well. Like, this cannot be the only one. I know from personal experience, I had a boss at one point that would like verbally berate me via email for if I made a simple mistake on stuff, and like, I'm sorry, but that shit does not fly. Like, you have to understand from a position of power that you like do not get to exploit that in ways that can harm your employees, and you should be taken to task. And I'm glad that this is all starting to come out, and I really hope that something gets through to the higher ups at Razer and there's some positive changes that come out of this.
The thing that gets me is that He's admitted to a lot of this. He's admitted to in prototype meetings where if the prototype doesn't meet his standards, he'll huck it at a wall.
Mm.
He has said to his employees to their face and has fully admitted it, saying, "Don't make me punch you."
In some of these cases, like some severe overtime, like I work some overtime at my job, but it's as far between as my boss can make it happen. And, if it does happen, I'm given a little bit of leeway the following week. But in this, like, people are working 60 to 100 hours per week on some of these things, and they're fired if they don't work 60 to 100 hours a week.
And it's not even like just the 60 to 100 hours. They're being asked to work during times they shouldn't. Like the one paragraph we have up now, a former employee says that their son was admitted to the ER after a car crash, and while he was still in the hospital, their boss told him to get back to work. Another said he was asked to work on his honeymoon.
Good lord.
Yeah, the one story that stands out to me here is an employee saying that they were fired after just for doing their job, like literally running numbers for Razer sales, and determining that the company was not going to hit Tan's sales goals within the budget that they had been given. And whenever they requested more money in order to hit those sales goals, um, that was apparently the breaking point, and Tan just threw them out on their ass, apparently, like just for doing their job. But because it was bad news and wasn't going to help influence the cult of personality that Tan has built up for himself, both within the company and within the tech circles, like it, if it didn't meet his own reality of it, he's going to reject it. And
And
that is unhealthy as fuck, and all too common in the
yeah,
tech world.
the sad thing is, this sort of leadership does bring short term gains, but long term, it breaks people. You can't keep an employee for more than 4 or 5 years, so you're going to constantly be getting brain drain on this because people are just going to leave after a few years of putting up with this.
Yeah. It's just tech CEOs are some of the worst megalomaniacal people on the planet. We've seen it countless times over and over again. We should not be surprised whenever one of these reports comes out, but we will always be surprised because this is not how things should work.
Mm-hmm.
This is not normal.
And yeah, like, he is now worth over $1.6 billion according to Forbes, which, hey, that's barely what it gets you. Great.
I hope all that money's worth, being one of the most surly pieces of garbage on the planet.
Yeah, congratulations on being the biggest dickbag. Let me double check the list here. Yeah, the biggest dickbag we'll actually talk about today. I can say that with authority. Yeah, you're probably a bigger dickbag than PewDiePie, so.
That's saying a lot, too. That's saying a ton.
Yeah. So if you really want to get the full article, there is a lot here, and that's what's really amazing about the article. Not the depth that Tan goes to, but how commonplace it is for him. Like, this is time and time again that just overall, this sounds like one of the worst places to possibly fucking work.
Yeah, I would not want to work at Razer.
No, definitely, if I remember and see a Razer product, I don't want to buy one anymore.
Nah, like, this really sours me on that.
Yeah, it kind of kills the brand loyalty, doesn't it?
Oh, totally.
Speaking of killing brand loyalty,
Oh God, this is.
Getting to our mid-story.
You're just murdering my soul right now with this.
Yeah, we're in the painful section of the show, but let's power through it. Come on, don't you want the company to survive?
Let's get it over with. The thing that I feared last week.
Yeah, you were correct. Campo Santo has put out an official statement. Their team joined Valve, and let me see the official state. There it is. To fans looking forward to In the Valley of the Gods, it's probably clear that the optimistic 2019 at the end of the announcement trailer isn't going to be accurate. In the end, Valve time makes fools of us all. But yes, developers from the former Campo Santo team have joined other projects at Valve, including Half-Life Alyx. As some of you can imagine, our experience in the first-person adventure genre is pretty relevant. You hear a lot about how at Valve you can work on what you want. It turns out that's true, and there's a lot of work available. As we integrated ourselves into Valve, it became clear there was a lot of valuable work to be done in Half-Life Alyx. Some of us starting lending a hand and have since become full-time on the project as it approaches launch. Similarly, some ex-campos are working on Dota Underlords, some are on Steam, and so on. So to answer your question, as of today, In the Valley of Gods development is on hold, but it certainly feels like a project people can and may return to. And when that happens, we'll find an exciting way to let fans know.
Back.
Yeah.
If I was in my own house right now, sorry, I didn't realize my mic was muted when I was talking, so I just picked it up in mid-sentence. If I was in my own house right now, after reading that, I would take my mouse and just throw it against a wall.
Understandable, but let's not break the Airbnb.
No. As I said, if I was at my own house.
Wait a
If I was
sec.
at my
Is it a
own
Razer
house.
mouse? Does it
No, it's-
deserve to be thrown?
It's not a Razer mouse. I am not all on the tan brand over here. I'm not in the business of supporting people who want to punch their employees in the face. That being said, what a disappointment. What a disappointing thing to hear. I get that they have experience in this genre. And, Firewatch is an outstanding game. I will sing its praises until the day I die. And it makes sense that you would have the people that built out Firewatch be on that project. Because, their experiences will serve Alex well. But at the end of the day, I don't know if Alex is something that a lot of the people within Campo Santo really wanted to work on, and it makes me wonder. It makes me wonder how. I don't know. I don't want to be the person to go out there and question the validity of the statement, and the question whether or not the Campo Santo people that did move on to work on Half-Life Alyx really chose to do it, more so as they were told to do it because Valve is their employer now. I don't want to speculate on that necessarily because there really hasn't been a ton of inklings that that's been the case. It really seems like a lot of the Campo Santo people are genuinely excited about working on Alyx and apparently on Dota Underlords also, but I don't understand why. That's a weird thing that I'll put off to the side because Dota Underlords is a weird thing to begin with. But it is extremely disheartening for people who loved Firewatch and watched the very beginnings of In the Valley of the Gods come out from Campo Santos before they were bought by Valve. In a lot of ways, there's the narrative right now is probably going to be that Valve killed In the Valley of the Gods. And I don't, like I said, don't know the validity of that statement, but it's really hard to not feel that as a fan of Campo Santo stuff.
You have seen a lot of them on Twitter, changing their headers to be things more related to Valve stuff. So, I mean, it does match with some of the more publicly outward things we've seen that they were just kind of interested in. Hey, what's this thing? Can I fuck around with this for a while and get back to work on this other thing later? I'm really hopeful they'll get back to In the Valley of the Gods, because that is a promising looking game. But just maybe they really did have some expertise that they really felt was valuable to these other projects.
Oh no, they definitely have expertise that's valuable to Alex. I mean,
Mm.
like a first person thing like that. I mean, Valve has not really made something like that in a long time, and the people that were there to make Half-Life, to make a first person shooter even, are not there anymore or have moved on to different things. So it makes sense that you would bring in somebody who is used to working with interactability, especially whenever you're moving into the VR world. You know, I believe that some people within the Campo Santo have worked on some VR stuff in the past. I don't know to the extent of it, but I know they might have a little bit of experience there. But no, it makes sense that they would want to work on something that could revolutionize first person gaming on a new platform, um, that might slowly become more accessible to people over time. That being said, though, once again, like In the Valley of the Gods was a game that a lot of people were excited for, and I think that this will leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths going forward.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and it's not the greatest look, especially for Capo Santo when they merged in. I can remember them explicitly saying that this isn't going to change who we are and what we do, um, but it kind of has.
The other thing that it makes me think, though, and this is on the complete opposite side of the argument here, it makes you wonder, was In the Valley of the Gods going the way that they wanted it to? Was the development of that game coming along in the way that Campo Santo wanted? Like, was there a reason why they wanted to walk away from that project? You know, because we haven't really seen anything about the game since it was announced, like that announcement teaser that we saw. So I don't know. I mean, there's stories to unpack here. Stories that we probably won't hear for a year or two.
Yeah, there's
But
definitely things we might not hear for 5, 6 years, but you know these things tend to come to light eventually.
yeah, I don't know. Linz, did you have any thoughts? I didn't mean to
No,
monopolize the time there.
it's all good. I mean, like the one line in the official statement just kind of pings it all. Like, I don't think they had a choice in switching their focus. Like, because like it says, in the end time, Valve time, or in the end, Valve time makes fools of us all. So I think that was their way of saying, look, we done fucked up.
Mm.
Sorry.
Can I do a mildly related but also completely unrelated tangent real quick? I was watching a video the other day that had a really interesting. You tend to not hear about what actually happened for years and years, and this is one that I hadn't heard about, but the guy had kept secret for a long time. One of the people who worked on the Nokia N-Gage.
Oh
Um,
God.
yeah, after the people in engineering and the people in marketing kept having back and forth battles on what the N-Gage should look like, he got pissed off and he submitted a version of the N-Gage based around good old Goatsy. And that was the one they ended up going for the first release. And he didn't want to never be hired as an engineer again, so he didn't tell anybody. And never since I heard that, I can't look at the original N-Gage prototype the same ever again.
I would argue no one should look at the original Engage prototype ever again, but
Yeah.
that's just me, I guess. What an odd thing.
Yeah, so some of these stories we may not hear for, you know, years and years and years, and then someday it may come out and be like, what? Just for reference for the audience. There's the N-Gage. There it is. Anyway, we'll find out what actually happened, and I hope that they come back to it and that it's a good game, and maybe they just needed some time away from it to really learn what they really wanted out of this game. I'm hoping that's what happened, is that they needed a break from this project and they found themselves on other things that were more fulfilling for now, so they could step away from the project and get better insight on what they were actually going to produce. But maybe that's the optimist in me speaking, right? I don't know.
It's possible.
All things are possible in Valve time, but it does make me oddly a little bit more optimistic for Half-Life Alyx as well.
We'll see.
Yeah, well, definitely, this is, a whole mess here of stories that we've mentioned before and are following up on and will continue to follow up on. Let's have a minor palate cleanser here, with more talk about Death Stranding, because I don't know if you know this or not, but Brian and I like Hideo Kojima.
I'd argue we also both like Death Stranding.
Yeah, I did like the game. It's not like one of my top games of the year, but I definitely enjoyed my time with it. But from Eurogamer, there is a patch that came out. In the first patch, they wanted to include what the most wanted stuff from the gameplay of, their gamers was. And the biggest request, and if you've ever been to the cosplayer in Death Stranding, you know this for a fact, is that people just kind of leave their cars sitting around. Now, I would say that it is more out of laziness than out of malice. I don't think people are being trolls. It's just that it is at the end of a fucking road that has no reason to go back on or attempt to with the same vehicle. So I know I left my own truck just kind of sitting there because I looked at going back in the vehicle and said, fuck that, I'm going to walk now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, like, I made the mistake of trying to drive down there, and ended up getting my truck stuck right in front of the doorway to the cosplayer. And I think if I had known that was the kind of the situation down there, I would never have tried to drive my truck down there, because that is immensely frustrating. So in that instance, no, I don't believe it's people griefing people or like doing it on purpose just to troll. Now with the roads, on the other hand,
No, even with the roads, like, okay, I had followed the road from Lake Knot City to the port thing below Lake Knot City several times. I had accidentally dropped 3 motorcycles in the lake because I had been following the path people had laid down going across the road and not knowing that it was a road path. And just in the middle of it, there's the little river, and each time my motorcycle would fall into the river. When I finally built the road, there were 3 motorcycles just kind of sitting there that I left for a long time just in the middle of the fucking road.
see, like that, yes, I see that and I understand that. Like there's definitely stuff that once the roads were built that I lost that did come back, and I didn't necessarily have a lot of control over that, obviously. But that being said, cannot tell you, like, myself, I have run into a number of vehicles just left purposefully blocking the roads at times. Luckily, they were all motorcycles. I didn't run into many trucks that were doing that, which is nice. But I also have run into multiple vehicles that are like blocking entrances to the distribution centers themselves.
Mhm.
There was at least one instance where a motorcycle was left in the middle of the ramp that I kept forgetting was there at one of the distribution centers. So every time that I would turn into it at full force, I'd just run into it and would immediately just be annoyed. Like it didn't hurt anything. It like impeded my progress by like a few seconds, but also it's super fucking annoying to not just be able to just drive your stuff into the doorway.
Definitely true.
Yeah.
I have to say, overall, it is a positive thing to have given. I kind of wish it was there when we played it, but, I might come back to the game eventually. So that's cool to have.
Oh, definitely. No. And I'm still playing it, so I'm digging it.
They also added another feature that people asked for that they don't mention in the article, but you can now partially see through your backpack when you're in the middle of Ghost Town, so you can see where the fuck your little ghost pointer is pointing. I mean, you could just change the shoulder angle you were looking at before, but this is definitely a better fix that now you can see your little whirly doodad, so you can see where the fuck ghosts are. Good. Thank you, Kojima Productions, for the little slice of life additions.
Yes.
So just a little cute story before we dive back right on into the stupid immediately. Into a Dexerto, sure, why not, campaign here. Dr. Disrespect has signed a TV deal with good old Skybound Entertainment, who you would know from the Walking Dead series, to make a TV show about Dr. Disrespect. Cool. I can imagine this will be popular despite the fact that Dr. Disrespect is, kind of Guy Beam is kind of a douchebag.
We're talking. Okay. He's a piece of shit. Dr. Disrespect is a piece of shit. And a man who has hidden behind his character to make racist statements and racist caricatures. A man who broke California law by filming people in public bathrooms. A man who was banned by E3. Whenever E3, like we're talking about, he was banned by an organization that felt perfectly fine with letting media people's personal information exist without a password on the internet. All right, that's what we're dealing with here, and yet this dude signs a contract with Robert Kirkman and his group. Like, I'm sorry, but this is unexcusable. This is horseshit. This should never have happened. Like, the quest for the almighty dollar does not mean that pieces of garbage like this deserve to have this sort of notoriety. It's just, it sucks. It sucks to see all around.
Yeah, I'm not thrilled. Like, I refuse to watch Dr. Disrespect. I find him obnoxious and irritating and everything that's wrong with streaming. And I'm just absolutely saddened by the fact that they're giving this asshole another platform.
Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna watch it, but I also recognize that people are gonna fucking watch it and it's gonna make money. And that sucks. But there you go. This is a TV show that's going to happen. Hooray!
Like, just reading the interview with him too is just talking about like being authentic to the character and like getting inside the narrative. Like, what narrative is there? He's just a dickhead who rips on people who play the games that he doesn't play. That's all the character is. He's just a giant dickhole that people think is edgy, or they either love him or hate him because he is like super edgelord. That's all he is. It's terrible. It's rote. It's one-dimensional, and I do not understand how you would even think that this would be viable for any kind of narrative-driven series, much less a streaming channel.
Yeah, it's a little weird to me that the people behind The Walking Dead are getting behind this place most known for its fucking stories. Is putting this out, but sure, why not? Money makes things happen, I guess. So
yeah.
There you go. This is going to happen because of money, and you cannot watch it, and we are being a part of the machine by reporting on it, but here we are. That happened.
You know what? it's okay. Like that's fine that we're reporting on it. That doesn't necessarily make us part of the machine per se. What does make you part of the machine though is if you financially support this man and what he does, despite claiming that you are trying to present stories and experiences that are not offensive to people, such as Twitch and Amazon and Skybound. Like all three of you can get fucked.
I mean, there's so many more reasons Amazon can get fucked. Let's.
No, I know. I know. This is just one of them, and I'm perfectly fine saying it.
Yeah. Either way, semi-related. Thank you, game industry and Hayden Taylor. We've talked a whole lot about Starbreeze Entertainment and the shit spew that they have been from 2018 to 2019, going through a 12-month period of insolvency. They seem to have come out okay-ish after laying off many, many people. They are going to resurrect the Payday franchise, they say, during the first half of 2020. I don't know how viable that is, but I wish them well.
Didn't we call this when we first reported on the fact that they were doing the massive layoffs and doing the whole insolvency thing? Like, didn't we call it that they were going to do this and then try to come back?
Yeah, basically, this has been the last year of our show. We've been checking in on this, and every time we're just like, yeah, this is going to take a lot of work to get done, and it's probably going to they're going to have to gut this company, and guess what they did?
They gutted the company.
So you're spot on there, Linz.
So there you go, guys. The Mr. Video Game Show. We see the future.
We are analysts that also make fart noises. Or maybe that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I make the fart noises. We all analyze.
I make many fart noises too. Don't think that you're alone on the fart noises.
Good. But no, this sucks in a lot of ways. Like,
Yeah,
because
it does
sorry.
feel a little bit like they're getting like this. They're getting. You fucked up, and hey, but that's fine, guys. We want you to keep going, so here's a little tricycle so you can get along until you're ready to be in the big boy game again.
Well, here's the thing. It doesn't suck in that the company is still there. Like there are still employees that have jobs. There are still people earning a salary there. They're still producing products, even though most of that right now is just content for a game that is at least 5 years old at this point. What does suck though is that they had to cut so much in terms of people, IPs, companies that were held underneath it. Entire divisions of their company had to be sacrificed in order for this small amount of people to stay solvent. And I'm glad that Starbreeze is still active and that hopefully they'll be able to get back on their feet in the next few years and be able to build their staff back out again and build some of these and get some of that work back underneath their umbrella. Hopefully a lot of the people that were laid off here, if they're not working at that point, maybe they'll come back to Starbreeze, or maybe even if they do have other jobs in the industry, they'll want to come back to Starbreeze at some point. But even though they survive, like that is what they are doing. They are surviving. They are not thriving at all. And it remains to be seen if this company will continue on as just like a shell like it is, or if it'll start filling itself out again. Because like once you hit one huge year-long battle to try and like stay above water, like that can only mean that another one is not that far around the corner, and I really hope that they don't run into that before they're able to get their footing.
Don't mind me if you saw some weird faces on my face. I was looking at Twitter and I think I saw the wrestling thing that you were interested in earlier as well. I digress.
That's for another time.
Absolutely. yeah, I just I can't get along with the idea of CEOs just kind of coasting it by and having to lay off so many people, and you know that the people who are still there and working have probably been crunched to death trying to save this company that did not deserve to be saved. So I don't fucking give a fuck about Starbreeze, and I don't care how Payday 2 or Payday 3 does. Nah, I don't wish them the best. And I hope that the employees find better, more gainful entertainment than working for Starbreeze. The end.
I'm with you.
I know
Yep.
that's a fucking cold statement, but I don't care about the company, not at all. I know a lot of the people who work on Payday are very talented individuals, but uh, gross.
Which begs the question, if you're this talented, why are you there?
Speaking of things I have no faith in, hey, remember the Atari VCS? It was supposed to launch.
Yep.
It's been delayed again. This time only by a few months. Only into March of 2020, but it's been delayed again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Tell me more.
man, nothing about this console sounds like it's worth just a flying fuck. $250 for this, and boy, if you wanted to build your own Linux box, you could do it for cheaper. Yeah, it wouldn't have a fucking wood grain finish on it, which you don't even get, I don't believe, unless you have like the $400 version with additional RAM. But I can install more RAM into my thing, and then it doesn't even come with a gamepad or joystick.
I mean, at this point, it would be just so much more affordable to do like a Raspberry Pi.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can get the starter kits for those for like $30.
I don't even understand what this is for. It's a Linux gaming machine that is definitely not high enough in to do a whole lot of great Linux gaming in the first place.
Did you just say great Linux gaming as a thing?
Yeah.
There there are some good games that are produced on Linux, but you're not going to get that with 4 gigabytes of RAM. I'll tell you that much.
The last great Linux gaming thing ever to come out was the Steam controller. If that says anything about my faith in a great Linux gaming
I
Yeah, to me,
experience.
just reading this whole Linux gaming PC, just that seems like an oxymoron.
I know too many hardcore nerds. I work in the tech field, so I know that there are Linux gamers out there. They're a weird fucking dedicated bunch. I don't understand them, and they will pull all of the horsepower they can out of absolute bullshit.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Like I do not understand it. I know it's out there. I know that they are the unicorns of the gaming industry, and
Yeah.
I do not get it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand wanting to run like Linux for a lot of things, honestly, especially in corporate environment. If you are staging a server, sure, run your fucking Linux server. It's great. It's good for that. If you want it for casual fucking entertainment, I don't get it. I don't understand it, but God bless you. Go out in the world. There are so many things out there that I don't understand, and I don't have to understand all of them, and I will never understand the Atari VCS.
At this rate, no one else will either because it might not come out.
They're real fucked if it doesn't come out, so it damn well better come out. They are so fucked if it doesn't at this point. It's hilarious.
Uh, I got some hot breaking news.
Oh?
MLB The Show is no longer PlayStation exclusive.
Ooh.
MLB The Show is going to be coming to other consoles as early as 2021, according to a statement
Nice.
today. I'll pull this up real quick. I don't have to touch on this for long. I just wanted to get that out there because I just saw it come across, especially because MLB The Show is the only major like baseball sim game out there on the market now. And for the longest time, it was PlayStation exclusive. So if you had an Xbox or a Switch, you could not play a baseball sim. And I know RBI Baseball is out there, but that's not a true baseball sim in a lot of ways. It has more arcadey elements to it in there. It also just is not as good of a game. But yeah, so according to the MLB and a joint release along with PlayStation, they are, it's going to be coming to other consoles. So there you go.
They can only be good for consumers, so hell yeah, I'm for it.
Yeah.
The one last thing I wanted to highlight in this article that really fucking blew my mind.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were done with it.
That's
That's why I thought that. That's all right. I just feel bad now that I threw out that in the middle of while we were talking about this. Go ahead, though.
For those who didn't donate to the VCS manufacturer, the unit will be sold by GameStop, Walmart, and Atari itself. Who's going into a GameStop for the Atari VCS?
Who's going into a GameStop for anything?
But it's also the case that each storefront is going to have a different design.
Oh, Jesus
Walmart's
Christ.
getting the carbon gold, GameStop is getting the onyx, which is the base design, and Atari has the black walnut look. Gotta catch them all, guys. Gotta catch them all.
I don't want one VCS. Why would I want three?
But you need to complete the collection.
Do any of those come with the controller?
Nope.
No.
Then all of them can get fucked.
Alright, speaking of things I actually don't understand, but I'm going to let Lindsay mostly cover this one. Coming from The Verge, Oculus Quest VR is going to have hands or controller-free technology that will track your hands. So, Lindsay, why is this important?
Okay, so one, we were talking about different VR platforms the other week when we were talking about how Half-Life Alyx is going to be a VR exclusive. And I mean, I'm still of the opinion that the Quest, because it is a standalone system, it doesn't have a powerhouse of a computer backing it. It's not going to be able to perform as well. That being said, however, the fact that they're rolling out hand tracking so you can start playing without controllers, to me, that's moving into dream level VR tech. Like, this is future tech now, because you look at games where you have, or look at scenarios where you have virtual reality. Like, hell, even look at the holodecks on Star Trek, only because I've been on a Star Trek kick lately. There are no controllers, there's no headset. I mean, how far away are we from being in like fully immersive VR worlds? And I mean, there have been plenty of times I've been playing around with the Vive that in games like Job Simulator, which was an awesomely hilarious game, where I wish I could have actually had control of individual fingers versus having a really clunky controller that has awkward button placement. So I think it's super cool that we're getting to this point. Will Oculus Quest be able to pull it off? Probably not. But like, if HTC with the Vive actually tries, or if Valve's Index, which I don't hold out much hope for, tries to move to this, then maybe, just maybe. It's just the fact that it's that standalone that's kind of worrying me just a little bit. So basically, TLDR, as I saw this, I nerded out, I squeed a little, and then thought of the implications and kind of cried. and died just a little bit inside.
Yeah, I am honestly right there with you on this. Like this is the next big leap forward in VR tech. And you know, granted, like whenever this is released this week, it's only going to be really be usable on like the Quest's interfaces right now. It's not going to be usable in any games at launch. But you know, the dev kit is getting out there to developers. Like it could be implemented into games very quickly, and you know, I think that once they get this working consistently, like this is a game changer. You know, like this is something that excites me about, like, as someone who does not have a headset, as someone who is not bought into the VR marketplace just yet, but has constantly been on the fence about whether or not to. This is something that pushes me even further to, you know, saving the money and dropping the money to get a headset. I don't know if the Quest is the headset that I would want to buy right now, but that being said, like, this tech is not going to be exclusive to the Quest for that long. If they are working on this and they have gotten it to a place where they feel comfortable releasing it onto the public, other VR companies have to be working on this stuff too, and they have to be close as well. So, you know, your Vive users, I don't know about PSVR. That I don't think PSVR users are really going to be looking to have this anytime soon. But like, you know, people buying into the Valve headset, you know, like this stuff is going to be more realistic for them in the next year, and it really could help to um, boost the viability of the VR marketplace, especially whenever you see like all of these executives just like leaping off of the Oculus train right now. You know, like this is something that could stabilize it in the eyes of the public if they pull it off well enough.
Well, and it's also a case of like, the more I think about this, the more I know other companies need to get on it. I mean, especially Valve. Because Alex looks like a killer game to begin with.
Oh
Having
God.
articulation for every finger while playing a game that looks that complex, can you imagine how much better that would make the game?
God, the thought just entered my brain as you were like finishing the first sentence of that statement, and I just like, okay, that I have such a weird relationship to Alex right now because, like, on one hand, like, I am so disappointed by that game, but on the other hand, every time I think about the technical capabilities of what could come out of that game, it blows my mind all over again.
If
I
you're really smart, they'll delay another year.
I mean, well, we know that this game is not coming out anytime soon.
hmm.
You know, it's still in development, like very deep in
Except
development.
they're saying that they've got a March or April 2020 release.
If they're saying that soon, then they are. That is no. That is
Because Alex's framework was already laid out. They had set it up as a tech demo for the index. So all they're doing is just fleshing out that tech demo.
see, and statements like that are like bringing that excitement back down to where it was again, because like if it's just a fleshed out tech demo, then like even though like yeah, that probably is what it's going to turn out to be in some ways, like it's just super frustrating because there's so much more they could do with this thing if they just gave it the time it needed. The one time that you do not work on Valve time is the one time that you fuck up the thing that could revolutionize something, like for real, you know.
You're not wrong.
I just got another thought about this whole hand tracking.
What you got?
Star Trek Bridge Command.
Ooh.
Hand tracking instead of controllers. I mean, it's one thing to have a console sitting in front of you and having to boop it with a controller. It's going to be another thing to actually point and poke at a button.
See, all I can think of is accounting plus and playing that game, and then when things start yelling at you, just give them this gesture back, and that will be a great hand gesture to give to the game and recognize it. So, I'm for it.
Oh my god. I'm also thinking of like the rec room and all the VR chat sims.
Oh, the
But I
inappropriate
mean,
hand gestures.
but this could open up VR to an entirely new audience because this can open up VR to deaf players.
Also
True. Yes.
Sign.
Very true.
So the accessibility just went up huge.
Yeah. See, that's the thing that I love about like digging into VR, because yes, on surface, VR as a thing is just very easy to write off and just scoff at. But if you really think about all the different ways that it can be implemented, like it is crazy to think that there's no viability within that marketplace.
I'm
You know?
not gonna lie, I've used VR for therapy.
Yeah.
We actually have a game that is guided meditations. And there's something to be said for throwing on a pair of headphones and listening to a guided meditation. It's another thing entirely to be sitting in the middle of a field under an impossibly blue sky and listening to a guided meditation.
It's crazy.
All right, and dropping into our last story of the day, coming to us of all things from Krypton Radio, and also from Motherboard. Let's not forget Motherboard. Zork and several other Infocom games source code have been dropped now upon GitHub. And surprisingly, Leisure Suit Larry is also one of the games. The source code actually from Leisure Suit Larry has a whole weird history that we won't really get into, but Al had promised it had been lost to the history of time and I believe had been sold off to somebody, so finding it all dumped at this point to this is interesting. So there you go. There's all of these old assets from Infocom games from years gone have all been dumped on to GitHub, so you can find them all now out there. So old games continue to exist in weird, strange ways, and you can just take that source and do whatever the fuck you do with really fucking old source. I don't know anymore.
I mean, the fact that Zork has been dropped, I mean, that's part of our gaming history. And I mean, the fact that it's just source code, that's cool. You can build it. It's a freaking text-based game. Leisure Suit Larry is a little bit different in that it's just the coding and the definition files, but it doesn't have any of the assets. So you can't rebuild it, but it's an interesting look into how it was built.
Absolutely. And I look forward to seeing all of the weird fucking comments that Al Lowe had to have left in his source code.
Just looking at some of the titles that were included in this dump also, like, I did not realize that there was a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
There was. It is very hard. It is super fucking hard.
And also, this unreleased, unfinished James Cameron's The Abyss. I am very curious.
The Hitchhiker's Guide is interesting for the fact that you have to find a way to escape a poetry reading before your head explodes. So, I definitely remember that.
Vogon poetry. I'm glad they put that in there.
Yeah, it was officially worked on by Douglas Adams, the man himself.
I would hope so.
Okay, so as somebody who played and loved Starship Titanic when I was younger, back when it was a new game, I grabbed it off of GOG. I can't play it. It made me really sad. I got not an hour into it and got stuck, and because it predates internet walkthroughs, I gave up.
I don't blame you. These games were meant to frustrate you for months and months on end, so they are not developed for a modern audience at all.
No. Although, I do have news about a game that dropped this past week.
Huh?
And it's one that Squid was super thrilled about, and it's one that I was super thrilled about, and so I grabbed it, and I'm kind of depressed.
Oh no, is it not good?
So paranoia, happiness is mandatory based on the absolutely fantastic and ridiculous tabletop game
Mm-hmm.
of the same name. Dropped this week after many delays and much waiting and anticipation. And I got about a half hour to an hour into it, and I hit a point that is so poorly coded and so poorly built that I walked away from the game.
No.
Ooh.
Like,
I've
how
had,
bad are we talking here?
I've had this game since Thursday. It has not been launched since Thursday.
Oh.
Um, it is, there's a point at which you need, in order to complete your actual first mission,
Oh God.
first actual real mission as a troubleshooter, you have to hack the maintenance side of a vending machine in order to break into the security system to hack a door so that we can continue this escort quest. And the way the hacking is done is so ass backwards and so poorly done that I can't do it. And I know it's going to come up over and over and over again. And there's no way to bypass it because every time you fail too many times and you run out of materials to create the item you needed, somebody else on your team goes, "Here, boss, here's some more." So after 20 minutes of banging my head against a wall, I've walked away from paranoia.
It's a good call.
It depresses me so much because the chunk of the game that I got to play was fucking fantastic. The writing was on point. It is so true to the tabletop game, which is probably one of the most ridiculous, offensive. I mean, not like offensive in today's shock humor offensive, but like just friend computer is the thing that runs Alpha Complex, which is where you are. And friend computer can be best described as GLaDOS, except instead of the overt backstabbing, it's proper backstabbing, and it's said in such a way that it sounds like they're doing you a favor.
Mm.
And it is so perfectly written and so perfectly voiced. And I mean, it's the 3/4 top down isometric play style, so it feels like you're playing the tabletop game. The animation is great, the graphics are great, and just this one little aspect has killed it for me.
Maybe they'll patch it.
I hope so, because you have to be superhuman in order to actually succeed on this in the time amount that they give you. They give you something like 4 seconds to do something that should take 20.
Oh, cool.
Jesus.
So, I mean, I don't know if I'm doing it wrong, but the fact that they also only display to you the instructions after the timer has started.
Why? Why? That is. I get it.
I'm
I get.
going to go raid YouTube for a second and see if I can find an example of this.
Yeah. Like, I get that the point of paranoia is to be chaotic in that way, but like that is just you. No. Like, you have to have some caveats in there like that. You can't have that sort of stuff happening.
What do you say? Shall we drop into the last segment while that is being looked up? Give
Yeah.
a little post teaser.
Exactly. Which also, we need to revisit our dungeon AI, our AI dungeon.
I did a few times. It never moved.
Boo! I want to find out what happens when I lick the dirt.
Sadly. Anyway, that is our last story, but we have apparently a couple other things, and I think I'm going to do one other just story that just hurt my brain before we went live and a little bit during going live. Hey, Giant Pie, how's it going? We're just finishing the show today, though I do want to say that we are coming back on Thursday to do the Video Game Awards at 8 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, so look forward to that. The next 2 weeks will be off, and then December the 30th, we will be doing a extended show to talk about the best games from both the year and the decade. So look forward to us just being huge fucking nerds on those days. Yeah, there is the State of Play coming up on the 12th. Thanks for also a reminder of that. We probably will end up talking about that a little bit during the Video Game Awards show as well that day. So join us on the 12th. We'll have a lot to talk about, I am definitely sure. And Lady Goggles will be joining us as well for the show. So that will be fun. But of course, we can't end a show ever without giving you the Mr. Video Game of the Day. The person, place, thing, noun that has done something egregious, terrible descriptor that is good, bad, awesome, terrible, that has really made you think about video games. And this week's Mr. Video Game is Jesus Christ of Nazareth. I am going to unmute this because they're not going to copyright me for this. Fuck you if you copyright me for this. Look at it. Look at it.
I'm trying to look at it, but also it's the light of Jesus, and I can't see the light of Jesus because it's so bright. It's so bright. Oh my God, it still looks so bright.
You can make fish.
How many fish can I make, and how many of them can I make that are see-through so I can see the bucket through them?
And can you take a Polaroid of your magic for scrapbooking purposes?
Oh my God.
On the cross!
Please tell me this is VR.
It is not, no. It is from a, I don't know, we're not, we definitely will get copyright for that, so please do not do that.
No.
Anyway, I watched a bit of Jim Sterling, who did some digging up on this actual game, and he mentioned that this was published by a company that publishes hundreds of other games, and a lot of them never actually happen. So we hope this happens, and also hope that the Priest game that he mentions happens, because, boy, that game, you fucking use your Priest powers to throw shit around, it is hardcore. And Giant Pie, I did not hear what Sony might be doing with PSVR. Please enlighten me. I would love to hear. But anyway, yeah, that was I Am Jesus. It may never happen. But boy, is that some of the dumbest thing I've ever heard. A spherical device with a stereo camera attached to it paired with a head-mounted display to allow two parties to connect and interact with one another in VR. Oh, there's no way that's not going to be used for... There's so much porn that's going to happen because of that. Just so goddamn much porn.
Oh, there's all sorts of adult-themed peripherals for VR that you, my sweet summer child.
Yeah, but this is a Sony okayed peripheral.
Nobody said they were smart.
That don't mean that people can't learn how to fuck with it.
You're not wrong. While we're here,
Yeah.
I know we did Mr. Video Games, and we've already decided that Jesus Christ of Nazareth is Mr. Video Games, but I don't fucking care anymore. This show has gone off the goddamn rails. Yep. Louis Vuitton is fucking partnering with Riot Games and League of Legends to release League of Legends jackets and hats and fanny packs and weird fucking shoes.
You are like very angry about this.
My voice is mostly gone now, so I can only yell.
I got you.
And this ugly ass watch, it is so goddamn ugly.
This is all ugly.
And it's a smartwatch too.
Ugh.
So I did some looking into this collection a little bit further, and they have looks set up. I'm actually going to throw the link to the store in chat because it is Okay, so that jacket, that horrible silver jacket, which they're labeling as a biker jacket, that looks like it's made out of gum wrappers, is $5,600.
Why? Why is it $5,600, Lady Merwin? Why?
Because it's Louis Vuitton.
This ugly ass shoe is $1,100 for an ugly shoe. The ugliest shoe I've ever seen in my life. $3,000 for the shitty smartwatch.
It's like I said before we went on the air when we first saw this thing, like the Louis Vuitton logo and like the pattern that they use on all their stuff, it just looks garbage to me. It looks second rate, terrible. So if it didn't have that on it, I would totally rock that hoodie. Other than that, I would even then though, I would not pay $2,000.
I will give you $29.99, Mr. Homeless Man who was wearing it, for this hoodie.
So the link to the collection is in the chat. Enjoy. I believe their leggings that you can buy are in the realm of $1,200 each.
God.
The track pants are about the same price. Running shoes are $11,400. The bum bag, which is a fucking fanny pack, is something like $2,000 or $3,000. It's just flat out disturbing because this is going to sell out.
Yeah, because it's Louis Vuitton, and people who play LOL have too much money to begin with, so they're going to throw it.
Well, scroll down for a sec. There we go. Too far.
Too far?
Down.
Down?
Downwards. Towards the bottom. Thank you. Okay, so spandex cycling shorts. How much for those? Next row up.
$940.
For spandex shorts.
Jesus Christ. This is all so stupid.
What does this have to do with League of Legends?
And I can guarantee you this collection is going to sell out.
Oh, of course it is, because it's Louis. It's Louis and League.
But you also figure in League, you pay 12 to 15 US or 10 to 15 US for a skin for a character. They made billions last year. So, yeah.
Should we take this survey? Internet! Let's take the survey!
God damn it.
Product information. Next! Rate your experience. Let's give it a 3-star.
I mean, it's a pretty layout for a store.
Yeah.
I don't mind the store layout. That's not my issue. Obviously. High fashion is not all high fashion, but popular high fashion is pretty much garbage at this point in a lot of ways. But especially Louis. Louis's always been garbage.
Oh my god!
Submit feedback!
Oh my god!
We're going to get a angry email from Louis Vuitton's community manager. But they're going to end it with, "Don't worry, we hear you."
I don't know why we're doing this either. We're so sorry.
Because people will spend their money on this.
Okay. Oh boy.
So stupid.
This has been Mr. Video Games. My voice is going. Lindsay, any final words for audiences? Stay in Giant Pie, please. Post whatever you like in chat. I trust you.
One, Trev, sweetie, go drink some tea with some honey.
Yeah.
Two, as always, guys, love each other. Be the change you want to see in the world. And you know what? Don't let really bad fashion choices get you down. Just think we can all be sitting here in our comfies and giggling at the folk that are actually shelling out hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy this shit.
Brian, any last words?
Buy secondhand clothing. Louis Vuitton is garbage. Also, check out that new Final Fantasy Final Fantasy VII remake trailer. It is actually pretty boss. But also, I don't have a ton going up writing-wise this week, just because I'm technically on vacation, even though I am still working on stuff while I'm on vacation. But anyway, either way, you can still check out my stuff at outsports.com or pastemagazine.com. You can follow me on Twitter at WonderboyOTM. And then, of course, the one thing that is working, though, that I am working on during this vacation is LGBT in the Ring, my queer pro wrestling podcast that I do in association with Outsports. That still is dropping every Thursday, including this Thursday, where I'm actually sitting down with Emily Fear of the Pro Wrestling Torches Grit and Glitter podcast focused on women's pro wrestling. So we're going to have a fun discussion about, like, their entry into pro wrestling and covering pro wrestling, but also a ton about women's pro wrestling, the current state of it, and also just, I don't know, just fun discussions. I know that it's going to be fun because the first thing that they said to me when I reached out to them was about how they wanted Rhea Ripley to kick them in the face because they're so hot. So if you're all about that energy, you should totally tune in this Thursday. Just search for Outsports in any of your podcast networks. And yeah, other than that, I'm about to go to get some more Waffle House.
Hell yeah, you are. We will not be streaming next week because I will also be in Atlanta next week, sipping on that syrup with Wonder Boy here. I'll take pictures, so if you follow me at CBGP Games on the Twitter, like it says on your good boy screen, you can definitely see them pictures because I'll post it. And remember that this Thursday, 8 p.m., we're going to talk about the Video Game Awards, probably talk about whatever happens during the State of Play, and all that good shit, and I'll probably have my voice back by then, and we'll also have the lady goggles.
Yes, and I won't be there Thursday, unfortunately. So yeah, y'all have to carry on without me.
It's a terrible shame.
Yes.
I will rage enough for the both of us.
Hooray!
And then we'll be back on the 30th to talk about our favorite games of the years. Thank you, Giant Pie, Kelverin Gaming, Lady Goggles, Diablo Graves, everyone else. Especially thank you to Lady Goggles for the sub. We've unlocked another emote slot, and I think I had an emote that I was going to throw in there. I'll probably look at that tomorrow, so next time we'll have a second emote slot for, people who continue to support the channel. And yeah, we look forward to seeing those of you who can on Thursday, and otherwise, youtube.com/CBGP Games to follow up later. God bless you all. Pleasant evening. Great tomorrow, and remember to watch us with our live stream of Am Jesus when it comes out. Thank you, and have a good night.
Bye.
Night, guys.